What's going on, everyone? Good morning. Real quick, Instagram, give me a thumbs up to make sure that you can hear me okay and it doesn't sound weird. Just give me a thumbs up. Just want to introduce myself to anybody who's new to this program. My name is Eric Velasquez, and I am interviewing candidates for the local 2021 City of San Antonio elections. So that's what we're doing, trying to do it like an open forum. So it's a live stream, and you can come in and jump in and ask a question directly to the candidate, or you can type it in the comment box. You can ask the question that way. But please take that function. If you can jump into the actual live stream, please do. You can do that on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So please do that. Instagram, can you give me a thumbs up to make sure that the sound's okay and you can hear me? That'd be helpful just to make sure y'all can hear. So, all right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring our next guest. Hold on. No, nothing yet. Okay. Instagram, send me a thumbs up to make sure that audio is okay. All right. So let me go ahead and bring in our next guest. Hey, Angela.
Hi, Eric.
How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been busy times.
Right. Just a little bit, right?
Just a little bit. Just a little extra.
So go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. So hi, welcome. My name is Angela Cardona. I'm running for City Council here in District 3. I was born and raised on the Southeast Side, attended Highlands High School, as well as Highland Park Elementary School just down the street. I live in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I was fortunate that 20 years ago, I purchased a home as a single mom. And I've lived here, raised my son, and now I'm looking at the opportunity to run for council. I want to lend my experience to the community.
Yeah, definitely. So, can you maybe turn down the audio, or because I can hear the echo?
Okay,
or
sure.
Maybe some headphones.
Yeah, I'm not a headphone wearer.
Oh. And just a reminder for anybody watching on Instagram. It's a little bit. Anybody on Instagram, if you want to ask a question, please just type in the comment box, and I'll go ahead and relay that question over to Angela as well. So tell me about that step, because I know we had talked on the phone a couple of times. What was that step like for you to, say, you know what, I'm thinking about it, to just full-blown commitment to just jumping in and actually putting your hat in the ring?
Yeah, it definitely was a short process, right? So a little bit of background. After I received my master's in public administration, actually during that, I earned a coveted spot with the mayor's office. And so that, coming from a management background, a store management background, I was able to come in, also leadership training, and my master's in public administration, the faculty was largely already involved with city management. And then I became involved in the professional organization, Urban Management Assistance of South Texas. So that experience led me into this space here at the mayor's office, from being able to see initiatives being rolled out through city council, through policy, from the top down to the community. And it was just an interesting perspective, an interesting background. After graduation, that led me into political offices. And that was a new arena for me, but I definitely went with a servant heart, always being a servant leader. And so I was highly motivated to be engaged in these offices as constituent, as directors of constituent services, ultimately leaving the office of District 3 as the Chief Operations of Strategic Initiatives. So it's everything that kind of led me up to this point. And I've always been asked, when are you going to run? When are you going to run? And that was just not something that I was interested in doing. It wasn't part of my path. For me, long-term goal. I'm also a single mom. So my priority has always been, what opportunities can I gain to be the best provider that I could to my son, and build myself up in that way. But here it's a culmination of life events and then my passion. It's just kind of aligning. The moment really is now. We're in a very critical need. And for the last 10 years, I've been part of the community conversations in my professional life, in my professional organizations, and then personally, right? So I lend my time to my neighborhood, and not just directly my neighborhood association. I've served as president, vice president, but also just super service oriented, putting together the Thanksgiving dinners, putting together small fundraisers, bringing programming to my direct community, but also sharing with other neighborhood leaders throughout the South Side. And so the time definitely is now for me to step outside of behind the scenes, which I've been comfortable doing. So, that perhaps was my biggest challenge in navigating to come to this decision, but it's definitely the right thing to do. Less so for myself, more so for my community.
Right. And that's the hard thing that people, it's what have you done, I guess, before that, before this campaign season, and you always see a lot of the politicians coming up or the candidates come up and start doing stuff around the community. And I was one of them too. But not until I really started digging in, it's when I realized how big of an impact you would make helping the community, right? And I think that's where hopefully a lot of the candidates that are running are seeing that, putting the community first besides themselves, and that's really how it is. And so I'm glad that you've been doing stuff, before all this stuff. But so, what is the direction that you want to see District 3 go into?
So, we're definitely in a path of growth, and I think that's really exciting. With my urban planning background, I was a zoning planner for the city of San Antonio, and even then worked at the council office. So I'm fully aware of the growth opportunities. In fact, I was part of the large area rezonings that have happened. I'm totally aware of where our new commercial buildings are going to be coming up. It all starts with land use. So I've already seen a snippet of what the next 20 years for the South Side is going to be, and it's going to be huge. And so it's critical that we have a member that has that institutional knowledge and firsthand experience and been witness to how those decisions came about, because I was present in some capacity and involved in those neighborhoods. So that puts me in a lead to be able to pick up right where we're leaving off. And so I definitely see a future of growth, but what a conversation that I want to carry through is on behalf of what I'm hearing from the neighborhoods, is that we need some type of protections for our aging communities. I don't think anybody is against, the consensus is that there is some really great growth happening. We're all consumers to these new shops that are coming in. So we're definitely excited. It's just being mindful of the services that are genuinely providing our community so that we can attain our recognition, right? Who we are as a community. And so I definitely see myself championing for some consistencies and some reinvestments as we're looking at long-term investments and growth.
And by protections, are you talking about like the gentrification, like protections from gentrification, or what are you?
Yeah, so protections from homeowners, right? We're seeing increased taxes that we hadn't seen before. I mean, in my community alone, our surrounding communities, it was a challenge to sell our homes years ago. They would stay on the market on end because you would never gaining any equity. Now we've got that and then some, but we have folks outside of our community that have a high interest. What's affordable for them has become a burden on us, and so we need to be sensitive to that. And so it's education for our homeowners, providing connections to nonprofits that are doing the work, providing education. I keep going back that there are 60,000 residences that have not filed a homestead exemption. That right there is an opportunity that we need to champion to make sure that we're sustaining what those tax increases might otherwise be without doing so. But at the same time, championing for the basic needs, we still have infrastructure, we still have sidewalk needs, we still have incomplete streets. And then we're adopting bonds, right, in new areas so infrastructure is built when new when new organizations come in. So when you have a new business coming in, it's their responsibility, or you have a new neighborhood come in, it's the developer's responsibility to build the sidewalks and streets that are happening. Right now, we're providing tax incentives to those developers, and also adopting bonds to build these streets and sidewalks for residences that aren't even there yet. So we really need to take a look at what we're championing for and the timing of it all, where the investment is going. There's definitely an opportunity to be more mindful of the strategic plan. And that's not like a written strategic plan that you work with the city. We've got some really great long-standing plans, large area plans that the city is working on in the planning department, that they're involving the communities in those strategies for sure. We're just at the cusp of those. I think maybe the Brooks plan was the only one that's complete, but we started rolling those and hearing those out just after the SA 2020. But aside of that, just constantly championing for those basic needs.
Right. And so if you are elected to city council, will you try to find out and maybe put an end to some of these businesses that are getting these tax breaks? We had we looked it over on one of the interviews, and we had looked at the Embassy Suites on the north side and Embassy Suites on the south side, and the south side was getting a tax break, but the one on the north side did not. And so basically you're putting more of a burden on the community itself that are not, that are having to pay those taxes and increasing all that funding. So what do you want to see done in District 3 to hopefully stop that from happening in District 3?
Right. So I definitely want to wrap my brain around why that's happening, right? It's happening frequently. I'm not privy to those conversations. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know what the function of that is. From a community member, from the neighborhood, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look good. So I first want to make sure that it's not right and that it's not good. And if it isn't right and if it isn't good, then absolutely it would make sense to put a stop to those types of things. But if there is an inclination that there is some good business, right? I'm not anti-development. I want to be a council member that's going to have an open table. So if there's conversation with certain development that lends itself to that need, then still wearing my neighborhood hat, where's the opportunity for a public-private partnership then? So if you get this tax break, then we need to guarantee that it's going to be serving our taxpayers, right? In some way that there's going to be a return of investment back to our community. So those would be ideas that I just
and see what I have seen in the most recent ones, like the Weston Urban and the Lone Star District, right? Those two, they're getting tax breaks and subsidies, right? But all they're having to do is give back money into the affordable housing. And a lot of people are like, well, where's this money for affordable housing going to? You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know. It seems a little off, like you were saying, like it's not right. But where's that actual money going to? Like, is it really affordable housing? Where that money's going to, that these developers and these corporations are getting tax breaks and subsidies. Is it really going back to the people? Is what?
Well, it's affordable for who?
Right.
Who is it affordable? Who is the target market? So what's affordable to a developer? It's hard to say what we champions for housing would say is affordable. There's attainable, right? And then there's affordable. I don't think this is really serving the community that we're all talking about, because there's 14,000 folks that are on a waiting list that have vouchers that have been approved for this Saha housing or voucher housing to live in a sliding scale community. Why is the wait so long if we've been building affordable housing? So I'm not quite sure that these are things that I want to get to the bottom of. These are things that I'm interested in just as a neighborhood person that I've been following. So I hear some inconsistencies. And so I'm really excited about the potential of coming in as a community leader to really learn the behind the scenes of what that might be, and connecting the dots to be super impactful. In fact, I feel like that's one of my short-term goals. It doesn't present itself to me as something super challenging, as long as we have people listening to the folks that are doing the research and have the data to prove and show that this is an effective way. And I also just nerd out. I follow case studies from around the country. So there are best practices that I have in the back of my head, but unless I'm at the table, these are going to go unheard, you know. So I'm really looking to the people to vote me in so that we can carry out these conversations, these impactful conversations that I believe it's just a matter of a little tweak and a little compassion and listening and balance, right?
Right, definitely. And just for anybody, you should be getting your housing, your property tax appraisal here soon. If you haven't gotten it already, that's the website to go to, www.bcad.org. And what you can also do is you can look at this is the property search. If you want to find out what your property's evaluation is, or any property for that matter, you just type in the address. You can type it in up here. And then you can also go to, let me bring it up real quick. Where'd it go? So here you can go to the bcad.org, and it's right here under online services. Online portal is where you would go to go for your online portal for your taxes, and then property search is right here, and that's where it'll go to, so that way you can find out some more properties if you want to look and do some more digging around, because that's really interesting to go look at some of these places. So, you know, especially some businesses that are not paying any taxes whatsoever for property taxes or land tax at all, so which is interesting. So yeah, definitely make sure you check that out.
I also want to plug, I think it's a good resource, and I've spread this throughout my Southside leadership here. My City is My Home. Rich is doing some really good work. He's a nonprofit that aids in helping people through the process from applying to actually being present. Excuse me, my puppy wants all my attention. So My City, My Home is another resource that I would definitely share. The process can be intimidating, and it's necessarily made for us, made for the average individual to go through. That's just the legalities of it, unfortunately, right? They have a responsibility to the state to make sure that it's said in a certain way.
You have to raise your right hand and everything.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
But you know, that's the thing, is it does intimidating, but you think of it like a car salesman, like that's really what it felt like to me, is you going in there, but you're in front of like 3 or 4 people and you're having to haggle your price evaluation down.
You know, Eric, if I could share with you a little bit about my own personal experience with that. So I'm definitely, you know, in tune, right, with what the process is. And it's still intimidating for me. I went down there because my home is everything. Like, my home is what provides security for me and my son, still does. You know, it's our survival. So it's important to me. But I went down there and hit here pretty hard with flippers, right? And so he wanted to compare my home, how other homes were sold. And I get it, that's the practice that they're in. But what I didn't appreciate is that he was encouraging me. By 3 times he said, well, when you sell your home, and I finally just turned around and said, where are you moving me to?
Right.
Moved me to, like, even when I sold my home, I could not buy it back the way that I did as a single mom when I was 24. Like, buying this home was cheaper than rent. And, you know, now I worry if I want to hand this off to my son, you know, what is that going to look like? We've seen the patterns. We've seen the patterns in the East Side and Dignity Hill. We've seen the patterns in King William of families that just can no longer afford, where they've generations have been raised in their homes, and families can no longer afford to stay there simply because of the tax increases. And also the school district increases, right? So we're giving tax incentives to developers. The schools aren't getting the money. They're raising and passing the largest on record bonds. So who's paying for it? We still continue to pay for it and not really even benefiting. We're not getting the return. So when
Right.
parents raise me to have an investment, to always have some power of money, I almost feel like I'm not going to curse my home. I'm living in my home. I'm thankful, but
Well, yeah.
it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough to be aware of the what if, and
Right.
nobody really has a good plan right now.
Well, what I've noticed is that it seems like the city government tends to increase bonds or try to get more bond money to do things where we can ask corporations that are already here in the area, or we can ask some of these things from certain like companies and things like that, instead of throwing it on our backs and trying to, oh well, let's increase it, let's build some more homes so that way we can get more people from out of state, and
Right,
there's
right.
a lot. But we're not taking care of the infrastructure here in our city, and with our own residents, we're too busy building more, is what it looks like.
We still have, if I can interject, we still have streets that are not developed because we're unclear of who owns the property. Yet we have houses, we have families driving down these dirt streets, and nobody can lay claim to whose responsibility is to build it, right? So the city doesn't build streets. Well, where's the developer? It's too close to the airport, X, Y, and Z, So it's those types of initiatives where bond really comes in. Not building, streets of dreams for if you build it, they will come. I mean, clearly they're going to come. It's really, prioritizing spaces in our districts that are just deserving of a quality of life that we all should be aiming to attain,
Definitely. So what's your plan on being able to bring more community engagement within the district? Like, so, connecting more with the residents itself. Because I mean, I've heard good things and bad things. That there's not enough engagement, there's not enough, you know, connection with the community and the city council office. So what's your plan to change that?
Yeah, so my plan is to continue doing what I'm doing, right? So even as a council member, my plan is to continue engaging with various neighborhood leaders, and not just, on the south side, but beyond, because we're all feeling the same thing, the disconnectedness, how we can better serve our community there. But for me, like my passion, so when I was with Council District 3, coming out from the mayor's office, I really saw a disconnect in engagement, and it starts with our youth, right? So what groups can I engage in to teach early on about civic engagement process? I remember speaking with an elementary school class, and counsel. What is a counsel to a second grader? But it is a powerful tool, educating them about 311,
Most
educating
adults
them
don't
about
know what city
animal
council
care services. Yeah, but they're the ones that are walking from the parent, walking through the neighborhood the most, riding the bike. These kids know where the potholes are, and giving them the power to say, tell your parents to call 311. You can call that in. And then 3 days later, they're going to see that pothole is filled and that they had a direct impact in it, So there are definitely lessons that can be shared from very early on about what civic engagement looks like. But, my hope is that I can continue growing in my live stream. You and I talked about how to screenshot and screen grab. I don't know that language, but what I do for my neighborhood is take a look at what the zoning commission, I'm constantly looking at what's on the agenda. It's something that I sit and I do every night on Thursdays. And so why not continue doing that live? It's just getting me up to speed on the technology to be able to do that. But that is something that I definitely want to do. I mean, if Angela's nerding at her desk all by herself, like why not do that live? And, what opportunities there are for somebody to do it and simplify it. The city website is a wealth of information. As a city employee, that's what I was going and clicking onto to get the maps for zoning so there's really no secret, right? It's all available there. It's just getting insight on how to navigate that. And so that's something that I would definitely will be starting here shortly.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Curtis says, "Good luck in your race. I'm running for District 4. We can work together for a better San Antonio." Miguel says, "Woohoo." I'm assuming hoo-hoo, right? Not who.
It's more like whoo.
Okay.
I know Miguel. Miguel actually is a graduate. He's from Southside. He's a graduate of District 3 Legacy Leadership. And he graduated from Cornell and is now at Duke. So we've got Southsiders doing some great things and learning from high institutions with the will of wanting to come back home. And so that mentorship is so critical. It's the roles have reversed, right? So he left as me, his mentor. He is now my mentor. And that's what I want to continue compounding on throughout the district for all of our residents.
Right. Now, I want to talk about, because we were talking about education and with the youth, right? What can we do to start having the kids in schools, especially like the high schoolers, start having another outlet instead of having colleges or military recruiters come onto the campus, having some trades itself. Is that being done in District 3, or is it something that can be done?
It can be done, and I'm the person that's going to do it. Oh, you're speaking my language. Yeah, so the challenge, it's just, let's see, let me get my thoughts together because I'm so excited about it. So I want to make sure that I'm speaking about this.
Because a lot of people, like me, I went to Burbank and I did not want to go to college. I wanted to go to the military. That's fine. But for other people that don't want to go to college, that don't want to go to the military, they want to have a trade. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am a graduate of Highlands High School, but of the science and engineering program. We call it SEP, right? So it was a magnet school, or now they call them magnet schools, but it was a school within a school strictly for more science and math enrichment. And so now I see with SAISD, because I'm part of the SAISD leadership group too. And so I'm, aware of the new CAS schools that are coming up. And so I do see a pattern here of a continuum of pushing for trades learning within high school. And so that's really exciting for me, especially coming from a family of trade. So my father was a welder, my brother's a welder, his father was my father's dad was a blacksmith, and it's Cardona Welding. They've been established in the community for 100 years in the West Side. And so I see how trades can lend to benefit the families, 100 years we're talking about here. And my father was an excellent provider. And so he had a lot of friends also within that were the air conditioned guys, the lawn repair guys. Like these are definitely trades that we need to continue and promote within our high schools. And what I'm hearing from the business community is that they also want to see that. So I have, the business member in Coffee Sonado. She's already like, hey, Angela, I want to start. Yeah, that's a plug. She's approached me and said, I want to see a continuum. Like I would want to work with you to get the high school students into my coffee shop and start teaching them, how to do this so that then we can spur out either more entrepreneurship opportunities or just, sharpen that skill within our community. So I do feel that there's a lot of potential to make this happen.
Yeah.
And the time is now, right? We're seeing economic development dollars produced, that are going to produce these types of initiatives. The unfortunate thing is there's a disconnect in how that's being executed right now for small businesses. And so I'd like to see just kind of something that you mentioned, boots on the ground. I'd like to see, a mobile unit coming down and being in the center of a major corridor, perhaps like Roosevelt, right, where small businesses, they can just kind of live there for a couple of months. So it's a resource that is available for small businesses to just be able to go up, just like you do to order a coffee, but you're able to go up and speak to somebody instead of having to shut your door down to make an appointment to go down to the development services department between the 7:30 and 4:45 cutoff. Like, that's just not the best way to serve our small businesses.
Yeah, and I think
That conversation.
right, and I know Lucy Clark, our county clerk. She created that records on the run where
Yes.
they come out to you. Well, they come out to the office. I think it was the JP office and district, or JP2, or I forget which precinct it is, but the one right there on Pleasanton, and they come out and do like marriage licenses and assume names and small business stuff. So yeah, definitely that was a great concept that she implemented.
Right.
I think it's should be used in other forms as well.
Yeah.
And quick shout out to Patricia, a good friend of mine, and
Oh, good.
we actually set up the first vertical farm there at Coficinado, on the south side, and so she's always looking to do things that are different and always changing stuff. So if y'all haven't gone there, please do. She's awesome, and she teaches women also to um, make their own, like how to make their coffee and stuff like that. So
Yeah, Tyler is another champion of doing right by the community and bringing his product down, and just super grassroots organization, but looking, constantly looking big. So again, I see these dreams, right? I see these dreams that they want to accomplish, but there's a disconnect. And my experience can lend to making that happen. Just a matter of championing the city departments and submitting a request and working creatively in order to get that done. I do feel that the city definitely wants to better connect. It's just a matter of showing them how to do that. And listening to our small business owners, listening to our youth, listening to our educators, it puts me in a prime position to connect the dots. And I feel like that's what I've been doing the last 20 years of my life, even as a store manager. So all about timing. Like, this is a good time for me to be in this position.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of, hey, Lucy.
Yes. Awesome.
Yes,
That's
sure.
awesome.
Go and follow Lucy, Bear County Clerk.
Yes.
Amazing. You're amazing,
Yes.
Lucy, and especially all the things you do for the community as well. So
yes.
thank you
She's a
for
champion.
Yes.
So I met her in a large area rezoning right at the cusp of annexation, and she was such a champion for the community. Now with the new role, we've somewhat, disconnected, but clearly we're not. This circle. This is the beauty of the South Side.
Right.
In some way you worked with each other when you're doing the work. So
right. Exactly.
thanks for popping in and doing that. That's an excellent model. And if we can continue doing that with economic development and provide those resources to our small businesses, I think that that's definitely the direction that we will be moving forward in. With the shortest amount of learning curve, right? Like, that's something that Lucy and I can do on the first day.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And it's kind of like what was it? Oh, one of my friends, Jamie, she's from Big State Produce. She said doing a food truck, a mobile food truck of just
Yes.
vegetables, of
Yes.
just fruit and vegetables, because there is a desert, there's a
Yes.
food desert on the south side, and
Yes.
how awesome would that be to have a mobile food truck that has nothing but vegetables and fruits and stuff like that?
Done. Let's do it. City council, CCPF. We'll figure out how to do this. I don't know. I don't
The
want to do like
mobile
campaign promises,
the mobile truck
but
vision.
there's opportunities. There's opportunities with the experience that I have to be able to get us to the space that we deserve. And it's not a challenge when we have the partners that are willing to work together to do what's right for the community. I have no political gain in this. This isn't a career move for me. I'm not going to get clients out of this experience. It truly is for the community.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, what does community mean to you specifically?
Yeah. I mean, you know, as easy that should be for me to answer it.
It's hard. It is
It,
hard.
it is. It is. But right, so I believe community is what binds us, right? So if you're from the South Side, whether you've lived here like myself and my family for the entire life, or you're just moving in, lived here for 5 months, 5 days, you already see that there's something special about the South Side. We do have diversity. We have a rich history. We have a rich culture. We have shopping behaviors that nobody else could figure out, right? We're largely cash based. We have just ways of living, and that's awesome. And so, community to me is that shared space wherever you're at in your life, right? There's something special that you're either bringing or taking away or lending or borrowing from. I definitely feel that that's what community is. It's a shared space for us to lean in on each other, what our commonalities are, and to promote and goodwill. So that's
Yeah,
definitely, my circle of community, and that's that I live, work, eat, sleep, play in this environment. So if it's my community that I feel, I definitely want to exemplify that for the entire South Side.
definitely. So what are some things that you would like to do to help the small businesses be able to keep afloat? We noticed last year during the whole pandemic, only a very small, maybe like 5 or 6 small businesses on the south side actually applied for the PPP grants. Um, one because they didn't know about it. Two is because supposedly from some people that I've heard, it's their books weren't good. Um, so what are some things that you would like to do to help them get this information, uh as soon as it comes, because not everybody follows on social media or on the internet, especially on the south side. A lot of people are just old school, and they just, like you said, they just do cash. So
Yeah.
what are some things that you would like to see done to help those small businesses?
Yeah, so I would really like to work with the city department, work with the economic development departments, all entities, to include Southside First, right? So anybody that has a touch in this initiative, in these endeavors, to sit down and start strategizing on how we're going to do our outreach, and meeting the business owners where they're at, right? So not everybody's at the same place. So your taxes aren't right. Now you've got to get everything right in order to apply. Some folks just aren't there yet. So, okay, what entity is going to own that responsibility so that they can execute that piece? And it's not come and sign up. Like, we can't have business owners leave their business. My father would never close the shop doors on
Mhm.
Saturday. Like, we couldn't even go on vacation longer than 2 days. So that's not the environment. That's not the type of businesses that we have. You are, you are the barista, you are the accountant, you are the one taking the orders, you are the one. So it's a challenge for any of our small businesses that I see here that need that help to go to the city. So it really is just working with the partners, to see how we can do some after hours initiatives to get them engaged and do a survey, not of what we want to see, but the survey to the business owners of where their needs are, where their most dire needs are. So having courses available to them that are going to help them get their books right, taking a look at building out operations management. What does that look like? Closing procedures, opening procedures, deposits, what needs to be in check so that when these types of opportunities come, they're ready. And unfortunately, there's been disconnect. So we're not ready for it. We're not ready for it. And it's another intimidating process that we have to wrap our brains around, but also trying to serve and survive with our customers. So it's a catch-22 for the business owners. I want to alleviate those pressures by doing the behind the scenes work that's going to present opportunities for them through the connectedness that we can do on the back end. And that's thinking creatively and having a seat at the table in their voice, right? So they can't come to the meeting, but I've already done the legwork, right? As their representative, to be their voice, to let them say, look, this survey is not going to be effective. It's not. And this is why. And so let's revisit this until we can actually get something that's going to meet those businesses exactly where they're at.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So the toughest question of the day: what are your top 3 small business restaurants in District 3 that you enjoy?
Okay, why is that difficult? Because I can give you like my top 35. Come on.
Some people, for some reason, have a hard time with it. They're like, oh man, I don't want to, get somebody mad. But hey, I think it's all important to be able to just help give a shout out
Okay.
to some of these small businesses.
So we're gonna do this as if it's a playlist, right? So I'm
yes.
right. So this is like a playlist. This is gonna pop up, not necessarily my favorite, because I don't want to discount. They're all my favorites, and I'm all businesses. But it's what's been played on my playlist that's gonna pop up. So we'll do that. The top 3, my currently visited top 3. So I had enchiladas verdes at Patty's Tacos on Hackberry.
You said Patty's?
Patty's Tacos on South Hackberry.
Or I?
Patty'.
Okay. Patty's Tacos. Okay.
Yeah, Patty's Taco House is the formal, right across from the Broken Egg. So I'll give as much plug as I can here. Hackberry. So I ate there on Saturday. Let's see. I had gyros or gyros. I don't know but that's a staple that I've seen. Gyros.
I think it's gyros. I could be wrong. We've gone there a lot, like before, but
yeah,
I think it's like hero, but it's
gyros.
It's like here. It's kind of like hero. Like I don't know. I could be wrong too. Don't
JYROS, right?
Yeah.
Mitchell and Probant, right?
Yes.
And so that's the closest that I have in my neighborhood to get that type of sandwich. But then I get up there and I can't say no to the burger. Like it reminds me of ballpark burgers. It reminds me of my dad and being at the ballpark. Like they're so basic but so good.
Right.
Maybe it has something to do with the grill, right? That they grill it on.
Always.
So that was another. And then Azteca coffee,
Okay.
I crave that sometimes, and I'm not even a coffee drinker. And that's on Bustillos Drive, right off of Pleasanton. But it does something to me, and it's just a good blend, and he customizes it to my liking, so it's not all straight up strong coffee. So that's my top. That's my top 3 visits.
Nice.
In the last week.
Same thing with Aficionado. Like I don't even drink coffee, but for some reason she got me to drink it, and I still drink.
Yeah. I'll be there. I'll be there this weekend. So she's closed Monday through Thursday now. So that'll be my Friday coffee spot for sure.
They had some CBD stuff there too. CBD infused hibiscus tea or something like that. It was pretty good.
She's interesting. I've been following her work when I was doing work on contract with Southside first. And so that was how I first met her, just as a women business owner. So that was interesting too.
Yeah. Um, so okay. Sorry, hopefully y'all can hear me. I'm gonna move over this way. St. May says cannabis education starting in schools, also building programs to help out cannabis small businesses. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't, I mean, I don't know what the education system would have to say to that, and I don't have any authority of what's being executed at the school level. But I do think that there's some small businesses that are doing a good job via social media, educating the public. So if there's a space for it, then definitely I think businesses should do their due diligence in educating the community.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately, it's still taboo the cannabis issue. It's still like the taboo thing, and I hopefully we get out of that soon, and we end up legalizing. I don't know how you feel about the legalization, but I think I don't do it, but I just there's really I don't know. I think hopefully we can get past that, and that would also create a lot of revenue for us anyway. Um, Jeremy says, interested to know about permissions to build tiny homes on our property for extra income.
Yeah, so by right, a property owner does have what we call accessory dwellings. So if you are a property owner, I encourage you to contact the Development Services Department, or you can send me a message and let me know what your zoning is. We can find out what that is, and then we can figure out what your by right structure could be. So you should be able to have an accessory structure that you rent, but it's going to take some rezoning if you're not currently zoned in order to do that. And then you're going to have to figure out how to get utilities to that also if you're looking to get it a short term. I have an existing structure in my neighborhood. The older neighborhoods often had some type of granny flat. And so I do have that accessibility, and it's a challenge because it's an 80-year-old structure. So it's not ready to go, to be available, which kind of segues into opportunity for investment in aging communities to be able to offer housing as well. But yes, like send me a message, we'll take a look at what your zoning is, and I'll send you back to the Development Services Department. But for the basic information, I'm happy to help you, but by right you should be able to have an accessory structure that you can rent, but it's going to cost you a little bit to go through rezoning process.
Yeah, definitely. And you want to put any contact info that I can put on to into the screen right now that you're okay with putting out, or
Yeah. So my Facebook, right, is www.facebook.com/Angela for District 3. And you can message me there.
hold on, let me
Also
type
on
it.
Instagram, kind of behind on the Insta, but we're revving it up. um, and
Does it look like this? Let me hopefully like that. Hopefully.
yes.
All right.
Mhm.
So that's the Instagram.
And then
Uh,
my website is built for you to, share your information. So that's www.voteacd3.com.
okay. Does that look right? Oh wait, sorry. Does that look right? Okay,
Yes,
cool.
that's my website. And then my email is voteacd3@gmail.com.
Okay. You said vote what ACD3.
.com. I mean, at gmail.com.
Right. Okay. So this is how you can get in contact with her. Rosemary says, "Thank you for the Cafe Azteca plugs." Yeah, sorry, I think I put Azteca Coffee. I meant to say Cafe Azteca. But yes, they're off of Roosevelt Avenue between South Cross and White Avenue. Um,
Shout out to the women small business owner, right? So
right.
she owns the space, and Tyler has made it his own with his coffee shop. So it's fantastic.
That's awesome. Um, Let me ask you a question that I know it's not being asked, especially here in San Antonio, but what are your thoughts on ranked choice voting? And the way ranked choice voting is, uh, it basically would be, sorry, I'm trying to make it bigger here. Why is it not bigger? There we go. Basically, the way it works, it's kind of, uh, in order for a candidate to win the election, they have to have the 50+1 percentage. So this one right here that you see at the bottom there on round 4. So that still needs to be met, right? And the way this works is you still only vote once. You're not voting 4 times, just so you know. And the way it works is you vote for your person or people by rank. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can rank them however you want. So basically, your first person, then your second person, third person, fourth person, or you could just vote for one person. It's up to you. And so what happens is, especially in races like District 3 or District 2, District 5, which have a lot of people that are running, more than likely there's not going to be a clear winner, right? So more than likely there's going to be a runoff election. And what this does, ranked choice voting does, is it eliminates a runoff election, which cost the city of San Antonio $8 to $10 million just to hold the runoff election, which house also has a low turnout to begin with. So what this does, this creates an instant runoff. And so what happens is, if there is no clear definite winner of 50+1, then it goes into round 2, and whoever has the least amount of votes gets dropped off. Then round 3, no clear winner, then it gets dropped off, and then round 4, then there's a clear winner of 50+1. And basically it just moves your second choice votes into the second round, your third choice votes into your third round, so on and so forth, until there is a winner. Do you see something like this possibly be beneficial to our city?
Hmm. I mean, I like the cost savings behind it, right? If that's a real thing, if that cost savings is a real thing, then it has my attention. But the execution of it, and so I've seen cities around the globe adopting this, but they're not implementing it. And so there's been a challenge legislatively, right, of whether that's feasible or not, or there's definitely some legalities that I just am trying still to wrap my brain around. But for me personally, I'm struggling because if I see 4 people running and you're asking me to put them in order, I'm putting them in order as those 4 are running against each other. If that makes sense. But then so our current structure is you have 4 people running against each other, and I'm going to put them in order in that place. And then it divides it out based on my opinion of those 4 collectively. But the way our current structure is, you wipe those out, you get 2 to a runoff. Now I've got 2. My priorities are different. Now it's just these 2. So my first choice and fourth choice might not come up that way if I'm taking a look at it 1 through 4. I don't know if you're following me. But so because I'm having this argument in my head about making sense of it, I don't know, but it won't be my sole decision, right? And
Yeah.
there's cost dollars, if there's cost savings attributed to it, then absolutely, like let's put this on a committee and vet it out. So to solve that in my head, to give you an answer, if I champion it, like I'm still trying to figure it out, because I initially just if I rank those 4 and it's 1 and 4 and 1 and 4 up to the plate, like my rank was really 1 and 2, and now 1 and 2 aren't on the plate. So I still struggle with how that works out in my head.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. Just because is a newer concept to the U.S. I mean, it's only been introduced here in the U.S. since 2019, but they are now starting to implement it into the elections, like in New York and I think
Mhm.
Minnesota. Um,
Mhm.
so it's definitely some people like they're catching on to it as far as like it's making sense, and the way like your first vote, like your rank for your first person, would definitely go to it. But if not, then it goes to your second vote, goes into your second round, stuff, so on and so forth. Just that way, you're always having a say in each round. And if you don't like the other person, whatever, you don't have to put them as a number. But just like how you can now, you can do an undervote. You don't have to vote for anybody in any of the elections. You could just vote but not actually pick anybody. And those are undervotes. But it's the same kind of concept for that, but this is a little bit different because then it would create an instant runoff, which again, that saves the city so much money. That would save the city so much money, especially if we're doing these twice a year. It would definitely change it up, especially for the budget and all that. But just wanted to throw it out there just because I know it's a new concept for a lot of people, and I am interested in that type of election because it's really interesting. So, but thank you for answering that.
Yeah,
uh,
and it's just good foresight, right? Because other states are taking a look at it and other cities have adopted it. And although they haven't executed full force, other states are using it for their certain elections. So it seems to benefit maybe some elections, but not all. So it's just great to have alternatives and have that discussion to be ready.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so is there anybody that would like to ask a question? Please do so before we wrap up. We really want to make sure we kind of get any more questions from the city or from the public. um Please do so, put in the comment, or you can jump in. I have the link up above, in Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can jump in and actually ask a question. So please do. Real quick thing, as far as with the houseless, the houseless people, homeless people situation, um what are some things you would like to see done differently? Because I think I just read an article that it was the city spent about $186,000 last year removing homeless encampments. Um, Obviously, it's not working, right? To just clear it out and move them over. So, what are some things that you would like to see done to help this situation for those people? And also, obviously, the people that live in that area, because I know there's some people that are upset because they're like, well, I don't want these people here, so on and so forth. So, what are some things you would like to see done that can help?
Um, we need to have robust, honest conversations that are inclusive and not exclusive. We need to bring, I'm a firm believer that in order for change to occur, we have to have those folks that are facing those issues to have a seat at the table. And I just don't know that that's being done now. So we have to educate ourselves of how these circumstances, what the circumstances are that keep lending to the creation of these spaces, right? So clearly we've got champion, there's a lack of housing, but is there a disconnect for ID or property? And then there are just some homeless folks that I've spoken out to that just are against that type of development. They're just their politics don't align with being told that I have to live in a home or have an address in order to get a job. Like that mentality is existing. So we need to know what the philosophies are of these individuals, so that we can better serve where they want to go. So if living in a tent compound is conducive to their natural right, their natural belief, then is there a space in the city that we can provide that? San Francisco does a somewhat job at doing so, and that they bring public awareness that these parks between these hours and these hours, you're going to find folks that are sleeping. And it's kind of an integration into the community that this park is known, but then guess what? At 5 o'clock in the morning, they're out. So then it becomes a public space for your kids, a safe space, and you don't see that lingering. So we have to think creatively of how we can address these issues, but we have to ask the houseless and homeless what is their core belief of why they're living that way. If it's systematic, we have some major problems, and we're strongly aware. I think a lot of the anger that that comes inside of me is because of these systematic the shortfalls that have created these types of environments. Where are the resources in the city that we can think creatively? So I've been thinking about this and being part of city council at the time when it was adopted. There was an ordinance for vacant lots, vacant buildings, and there's fees that are being received, right? If you're the property owner that has this, and there's citations that get involved. So there's money being generated of this whole vacant lot situation. Is it possible that in those fundings that we can then turn that around and rehab, right? And take a look at adaptive reuses, very simple, beds, heat, water needs, place to shower, and become these centers of change that are temporary. And then you don't have that not in my backyard, right? You don't have that NIMBY attitude, because these vacant spaces are all throughout. They're downtown, they're in my neighborhood, they're in your neighborhood, they're throughout the city. So I'm curious to see what dollars are being made from those vacant, and then what opportunity there is to think creatively about reinvesting into some, you know, whether it be short-term or long-term stations, while we continue to work on in case management as we continue to work with these individuals.
Yeah, definitely.
But then also we just need to be champions for our property rights, right? So we need to make sure that we're preserving what our rights are as property owners as well, so that this housing becomes available. There's a low stock in San Antonio. The developers just can't keep up with what the demands are. And I'm curious to see what opportunities there are, again, for reinvestment in aging community. Like I mentioned before, I have a granny flat. It's not within my budget to redevelop that, but it's a vacant space for the bigger part of the year. And so what opportunity is there for like Casa Verde to come and just do that? Like right now, the programs that we have are based on income. And I'd really like to see the city champion on programs based on the age of the home. That's really where preservation is going to come in my opinion. I just haven't seen that explored. And so those are questions that come up right away. That could be short-term solutions for this long-term problem that we're foreseeing. But I do feel that there are answers. We just need to be better listeners to the experts that are aware, and start implementing some of those to make real impactful change. Because scooping up and you know, it's recurring trauma that we're creating. And that's not the community that I'm proud to be living in. And we need to be sensitive to that, but also be aware of what the community concerns are for the safety and how we're going to work through that navigate. Maybe it be in stages, but you've got to push out the communication so that the community knows what to expect. Right? There's high emotion on the safety of these concerns that they have. But yeah, I've got a lot to say about that.
No, definitely. That's a good thing. Nathan says, what are some veteran concerns you have been hearing about in your district, if any?
So I have, the safety of providing a safe space, right? And the investment in VFW. We have a VFW here on the south side that is a great space in serving as a communal space for our veterans. But they're just having a challenge in getting it off. It needs a lot of work, as most of our VFW facilities need to. Just the fundraising that's needed in order for this to be a viable, long-standing place for them to continue to meet. It's critical to their health and to their engagement in the community. And so I'd really like to see partnerships with UTSA Business School or maybe Maestro, right, to work with these veterans that now have to have a learning curve to be business owners, right, to try to enhance these spaces for the community so that they have a great meeting space. So I'd like to definitely champion for that. Something else that I see, well, that I felt here in my community is that we had a drive-by shooting that hit a house. Nobody was injured, but the home was penetrated with bullets, and the gentleman living there was a veteran and with PTSD. And these families had to live through that trauma of just seeing these bullet holes, right, through that penetrated through. And so I would really like to see a program of recovery. So when there are families that are hit, particularly veterans, or maybe domestic violence survivors that are kind of going through these random acts of violence, that we have like a recovery team, whether it be within, the family assistance crisis team or the social services programs that the police divide, or maybe even the graffiti department, but to come and bring quick patches, right, to these bullet holes so that they're not living in that environment in their head constantly. They're not reliving the threat that they just endured.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things in the forefront of my mind in speaking with veterans and living in the challenging times that we are in and how they're impacted by it, but quick recovery services so that we can reduce the amount of trauma that continues to reoccur.
Yeah, definitely. And there are a lot of resources that the military does have, or the VA has, that some people aren't aware of. So I think it's important to get that information out to them, and especially the DV Commission, the Domestic Violence Commission here in San Antonio, also does a lot of work with domestic violence, and Judge Monique Diaz is also a big proponent for those things. So definitely make sure. I mean, there's a lot of resources out there. We just got to find out where to find them. So,
Right. So I'm a family assistance crisis team member. I was trained by Patricia Castillo. I spent the night in the substations as an advocate. I'd ride along with the police officers, so that there's somebody else present to kind of divide up the family. And so, again, I've been doing the work. And so I just need to be able to get elected as city council for District 3 to connect the community to these services. These nonprofits need our championing so that the work that they're doing is being expanded upon, and that it no longer becomes taboo. We need a familiar face that has gone through challenges myself, that can easily relate and to say, like, yeah, that happened, but we move forward from it and we can do this together, and it's uncomfortable, but you'll be all right. And so that's definitely, one of the many priorities that I have, because that's just the space that I live in as a community leader, so it'll be very natural for me to, it's not a political agenda. It's a priority because it's a personal one.
Gotcha. Jeremy says the homeless have to want to change. I think it would be good to hear them out and map out the percentages to quantify the opportunities and ideas to help. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's just hearing them out and using what they have, what they're saying, and turn it into something good for them. And because the city sometimes tend to do an all-in-one approach to everything's going to be the same, but a lot of these situations are all different. You have to be flexible with all these things. So, yeah, definitely.
We have to be willing to meet them where they're at. The night of the freeze, I was out. I had collected some cold weather accessories, and I was out in the community handing them out to the homeless. And I gave rides to a couple of gentlemen. And and some of it was just because I need a place to stay. My girlfriend's kind of tripping out. My brother doesn't want her to come because she's drug trauma. I just need a place overnight.
Right.
And then there was another ride that I gave. I just need $2 to ride the bus. I'm trying to get down here, but then understanding later that Via actually was not even charging for buses. So it's just those little things that we can do better if we're proactive and not just thinking about them during critical times.
Right. Reactive.
Thinking about the community needs all the time.
Right. Which, why doesn't it happen? So, but
It's happening in me.
right. So any last words you want to say before we end, and maybe something that we didn't get to talk about, or anything that you want to just end off on?
Just the work that I've done, just to remind everybody, the work that I've been doing in the community has been for the community. I continually find that this is what I go back to, serving the community. I'm a servant leader, not just a service leader. It's not through appointment that I'm serving the community. This is by will, right? This is by passion. And while it's uncomfortable for me to kind of get outside of the behind the scenes, I think it's a perfect opportunity to lend my skill set, because I've been in the room for so long of so many conversations. So I know the backstories. And now with my education, with my devotion to the community, I'm willing to step up so long as I'm elected to continue connecting the dots so that we can make some major impactful changes. All the while at this level, at the ground roots level, for our communities, for our mothers, for our fathers, for our small businesses, for our grandparents, for our aging communities. That's just standard practice in my head. Let's get to work. But then also I have this unique experience of council, mayor, zoning, economic development, that also I can carry out those conversations, short-term, long-term, housing, those big bites. So I really feel that there's just balance within my experiences that can be super effective for District 3 from day one. We just do not have the time to implement new agendas, find out where they land. And we also don't have the time for the learning curve that it naturally takes for a council just to get their bearing. I believe everybody running here has some type of relationships, right, that they're gonna pull in. But the background and the will and community rooted to be a champion for those voices, it's not my first day showing up to these conversations.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Angela, for stopping by and just having this conversation. I know we've had conversations before, but either way, it's great to be able to talk to you, and just hopefully you got everything out that you could, with sharing your campaign.
I hope. I hope, this is a grassroots campaign, and so everybody's help is needed. I'm really proud of myself for showing up to the conversations that I'm having. It's intimidating to be around others that have, strong rooted campaign managers, getting the coaching and training when I'm speaking off the cuff of my own head experiences, right? But what's exciting is that I'm saying the same things and we're championing for the same things, and it's not coached, right? So
Yeah.
this, like I'll say it again, I'm not a small business owner. There's no connection for me. I'm doing really great work in the job that I'm doing now for families and advocating for them throughout the nation, which felt work. But, even my boss knows, like, I'm just deeply rooted in my community. And if I can spend my time lending all of the knowledge that I've gained, also my personal experience as being a single mom, being a homeowner and navigating through those alone. I just don't want anybody to have to feel alone. And if I can help connect the dots, I'm working on that every day. So please follow me on my social media. I hope that as I'm block walking that you'll see me. Do not shy away from getting to know me, and I'm here to help your family in any capacity that I can. So I'm not going anywhere.
So you're taking volunteers, donations, and all that stuff?
I am, yes. So I do have my donation page set up, and I do have a PO box, which I prefer if folks have checks, that they write checks so they get the whole dollar, because every single dollar matters to this campaign. So that can be mailed to Campaign for Angela Cardona at PO Box 10435 and zip code 78210. So mail a check there. The max amount for city council is $500. So that's been fantastic. I have a great group of friends that are just super knowledgeable that have been lending me some of their skills. I have another friend in the neighborhood that mentioned like it's been like a conveyor belt, right? Like everybody kind of does a little piece of it and then it moves on. But I'm most proud of this campaign is that it's my voice, it's my writing, it's my experience, it's my knowledge, it's my commitment. And it's not being enhanced or influenced by any political engagement whatsoever. I'm leaning on my neighborhood leadership to be a sounding voice that that has gone unheard for too long. But also for the development community, right? The development community has had a difficult time transitioning into the South Side because of the strongholds that our neighborhoods have endured. So it's being able to educate and work with the developers as well on how to better navigate through to the communities and try to create these partnerships to keep us moving forward. We don't want any standstill projects. We have projects that have been adopted with overgrowth and it's just not moving along. And it's just not the time to be still in those sorts of things. So how can my conflict resolution background, and also knowledge in serving other neighborhoods while working with the city, taking those best practices, being open to all of the communication at planning commission, zoning commission, city hall, for the last 10 years. Just putting that all together right now is the time for us to get somebody like me to champion and make the immediate changes, work out those short-term goals that have immediate impact, but also a visionary that can see what's coming, that knows what's coming, and then connect the dots for those that want to come in, but do it lightly and delicately. At the same time, bringing investment to our aging communities as well as enhancing all of the great newness that we've got without losing our identity and making sure that we're servicing the community that has lived here. That's here and paid taxes all their life that has developed so many other areas of the city. It's time to get some of that back, but we need to champion for that. We need to have a voice at the table to be able to say, that's good, but then we deserve better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Angela. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And there was a lot of hearts coming in from Instagram. I saw a lot of hearts coming in.
Good.
So, yeah, there they are. There's some more hearts.
Awesome. I gotta get their names. For every heart, it's $5. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. Oh, geez, that was more. So yes, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for having this conversation. For the viewers, if you would also like to donate as well to this live stream, my Cash App's down below. Please, if you like what you're seeing and everything, please donate as well. I'm doing this at my own time. So we do have another interview here at 12 o'clock with I think it's a NISD school board candidate. So please pay attention to your school board candidates races as well, because they control where that school funding that they're getting from the property taxes are going in your district. And especially we want to make sure we are on top of everything that's going on with those people as well, because they are controlling, some of this funding. So stay tuned for those as we dive more deeper into some of these positions and everything. But thank you, Angela. Appreciate you coming on, and thank you, everyone. Have an awesome night or day, I guess.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for allowing this space. It's so needed for voters to just get to know who's on the ballot. So
yes, definitely. So
space.
all right. Thank you, Angela. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.